talking about my big three. This is the tent I took. It is the Flash Air 2 from REI. It is, so this is 1 pound, 15 ounces for minimum weight, but with the poles and everything, it's more like 2 pounds and something. I don't remember exactly. So I had mixed feelings about this tent. I've had it for a couple years before I started the AT, but eventually started getting holes in both the floor and the sides of the tent. So it's like this really light material, and it started wetting out. Like every seam failed on it. The walls just absorbed water, and it was no fun by the end. So I eventually got like a tarp to put over it. I threw the tarp away. Just because the last video I made, I threw it in a bunch of poop by accident, and I didn't feel like cleaning that off. So you have the poles with it. These are the poles. You have 3 sets of poles. You have these things that go in the top, and you can put your trekking pole in it and keep these at home. You have a smaller pole that goes on the end of your tent that I have one of the first tents, so you can't take it back out after you put it in because it's too tight. One issue I had with these poles is, let's see which one it is. Oh, it's this one. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a nice bend to it, and when I sat it up, you can't really tell like right here, but it is really bent looking when I have like the tent clasped into it. So I didn't want to use my trekking poles in case it would bend my trekking poles, so I just kept these. So that was like a real downside about it. Another thing is because I don't know why, but there's like this I guess a hole right here, and one day I woke up and it was filled with earwigs, and I kept hitting them and they kept falling out. It was really disgusting. So they were like attracted to that little hole for some reason. For the stakes, which I have no idea what I did with. So would I recommend this tent? I mean, it's okay tent. I don't think I would highly recommend it though. Maybe for like light use, and not maybe for a through hike. It doesn't hold up as well. And I wouldn't recommend it for the desert either. I've used it in the desert and I got a lot of sand that went up under it, just the way it was pitched. And I want to use it for a lot of rainy days. Light rain's fine here and there, but if it's like constantly pouring for days on end, it's gonna fail. It also has condensation issues sometimes. It's not as bad like when you're in there. The condensation is usually when it's misty outside when you wake up, foggy, and then you got a lot of condensation on it. You cold? Alright, sleeping pads. It is cold out here. I started off with the Thermarest Z-lite. Very lightweight, easily collapsible, easily pull out. One thing I loved about this is, well, 2 things. I put it on the back, on the bottom of my pack. It was kind of aggravating because my backpack doesn't have a strap down there, so sometimes it would get loose and move around. But it kept my backpack from falling over when I set it on the ground, and so it was like a little kickstand. This was comfortable for me for the first couple hours of sleep. After that, I'd wake up with a lot of hip pain because I'm a side sleeper. And if you're a back sleeper, it's not that bad. It is a lot cooler since it's only like a, ooh, I forget what the rating is on this. Like a 2 maybe? 2? The one downside about this is it's really bulky. Indestructible, but extremely bulky. I switched out right before the Smokies to the big Agnes what kind is this? There it is. The big Agnes Air Core Insulated on 20 by 72 Ultra Air Core. This I got in, I think it's Franklin, North Carolina, at one of the outfitters. This was really comfortable. I really liked it. It was only comfortable not if you blow it up all the way, but if you have like a little cushy, like a little give to it. Downside about this is when it was new, it was so loud. I mean, I think one person got mad at me because they said it sounded like an elephant stomping all night on bubble wrap or something. I don't know. These things are extremely loud. Once you wear them in for a while, they're not as bad anymore. They still make some noise, but not like when they're new. The other thing about this is it still smells pretty bad. I washed it with Dawn soap and water. I don't know if I should use something else on it, baking soda maybe. If you know how to get the stench out of a blow-up pad, give me a comment below and I'll try it. This thing lasted me the whole way. Didn't have any holes, didn't have any issues. Of course, most of the time I protected it. I put like my Tyvek down or a emergency blanket under it, so any like splinters or anything from the shelters wouldn't penetrate it. So had no issues with this. Really liked it. It's a little bulky. Right now I think I got a little bit of air in it, but you know, I packed this down different ways. Sometimes I laid it flat against my back. I eventually started rolling it, putting it in the bottom. It's a little heavy. It's heavier than this for sure. I think this is about 20, it's either 17 or 20 ounces. And I'll put the information below. And this is about 12? I'm not sure. So this was a little heavier, but it was a lot warmer, especially when I went into the Smokies, a lot more comfortable. I still froze, but I couldn't imagine how much colder I would be if I didn't switch out. Next I'm going to talk about my backpack. I use the ULA Circuit, and I think it was small with a medium hip belt. So I have a little bit mixed feelings about this. I really love the hip belt. That is after I changed my pants. If I wear anything that sits like on my waist where the hip belt is, I'll get bruises. Other than that, I don't get bruises from this. I find this hip belt very, very comfortable. I find the pockets very large, very nice, easy to access. I like the dual clasps, or not the dual clasps, the dual straps on both sides, so you can shift the weight from the top or the bottom depending on how tight you want each side to make it fit your hip better. I found the straps really comfortable. I have the S-shaped straps. I did have my load lifter break really early on. I flossed it back together and it stayed pretty tight since. I did notice though, as I tighten my load lifter, I have this plastic piece right here. It would dig into my collarbone and it would bruise it really bad, and that was uncomfortable, so I couldn't do it as tight. What I still did not love, that I said when I first got it, was the shape of the pack. It kind of has this like rounded, and when I sit it down it falls, and I saw in a comment that that helps with your load carry. I found it didn't help me. I always felt like something was a little off no matter how I packed it. So that wasn't my favorite. I also am not a fan of just the one strap on top. That's not like a Y strap. that's pretty much useless and doesn't hold anything in place. It just kind of tightens your bag. Water pockets were fine, or water bottle pockets were fine, nice and big. I have this nice strap up here that I used. There is no whistle on this, like a lot of your standard backpacks will come with like a sternum strap whistle. This does not have that, so you will have to carry a separate whistle, which is fine because I put the whistle in my fanny pack, and that way if I left my pack somewhere, I still had my whistle with me, so that was actually kind of a good thing. Notice that this material holds a lot of water. I'm going to put what kind of material it is below because I can't think of what it is called on top of my head. When it was just moist out, I would say, humid, it holds a lot of water. And I was not a big fan of that. Makes the pack heavier. This did pretty well, this stretchy pocket. I only have maybe, let's see that, a couple holes. There. I have about a finger-sized hole here, a couple smaller holes along here. Other than that, I did have like the fabric starting to come off here, off this stretchy cord. That's not bad. Not like as much times as I've hit stuff, scraped it against the ground. I mean, I beat this pack up, and that bottom that looks worn, it's in pretty good condition. There's no holes in it yet. I have no holes in my actual backpack, and it held up really, really well. A downside from it was it always sat on my back strange. Like, if you look at some of my videos or some videos with me in it, you notice my pack looks a little lopsided, and it was lopsided the whole time. No matter what I did, it was always a little lopsided. So I don't know if that was user error. I don't know if that's pack error. Though I love how sturdy this pack is. I love the hip belts. This is my first backpack like this, but it is not my favorite. I would like to try some other packs. I did try on like a ULA pack, and I found that it fit my back better. When I bought this, I wasn't able to try on this or the, oh, I'm sorry, the Hyperlite. Or the Hyperlite. The Hyperlite fit me better. Overall, this was actually an okay pack. Like I said, it wasn't the best though. I feel like it fit weird up here, like for everything in it. Maybe it would do best if I had a lot less gear, maybe like half the amount of gear as I had. So out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it like a 3. Because I talked about my backpack, might as well talk about my fanny pack. My hands are frozen. So I had the Columbia fanny pack. It's like a packable. So it's got this little pocket back here that it... You get the picture. It packs down into this little spot. I like the size of this pack. It's very big, very spacious. I was able to carry a lot of stuff in it. Very lightweight. 2 downsides. Oh, I was able to put the strap or the clasp on the side, so it wasn't hitting the back of my pack. 2 downsides about this is no matter what I did, you cannot make it waterproof. I sprayed it and everything. Not waterproof. Everything goes through it, and it dries really slow. I carried this the whole way, and there's like a it's coated on the inside with this I don't know what it is, like maybe some coating to make it clean easier. But if you can see the the coating has worn off in a lot of places. It looks just gross. Here's another one. You can see where it's darker. That's where it no longer has a coating. Other than that, it actually held up the entire way. I had no issues with the zipper, no issues with the fabric. I do have a slight, small pinhole at the very bottom, and some wear and tear here where it was against my body. Other than that, I hated that it wasn't waterproof, but it held up. It did its job. For our sleeping bags, I started off with the Marmot Women's Trestle Eco 20. It is a 20-degree sleeping bag, and I really love this sleeping bag. It did take up a large portion of my pack, like at least a third of my pack, if not more. And that is one of the reasons I downgraded later on. But I would lie if I said I was warm all the time in this. There were a lot of times where the temperature dropped pretty low and I was cold, especially like my feet. I don't know, I'm usually slightly cooler sleeper, sometimes. I really like the sleeping bag. It's supposed to mimic down with a synthetic kind of material, and I knew that because the AT was really moist, like really humid, really wet, I didn't want to take down and risk it getting wet, because when down gets wet, unless it's like coated, it loses its insulation properties, and synthetic doesn't. This is also cheaper than down. The price has gone up a lot since I bought it, so I don't know how it compares now. It's also very compressible, not as much as down, but it's more compressible than like your typical regular, I would say, synthetic kind of sleeping bag. Now I carried this all the way from Georgia to Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, I decided to, most people were going back to their winter sleeping bag. I had not gotten rid of my winter sleeping bag yet, and I ended up going with the Klymit blanket, which it doesn't have a rating on it, so I'm going to guess it's probably like a 45-degree bag, or not a bag, a sleeping bag. I really liked it for what it was for. Why does this keep getting dark? Is that better? I really liked it for, it had these like little hand pockets for your hands. It had these little straps so you could make it wrap around and clip to each other around you. It has, let me find it. Oh, here it is. It has this foot box, so you can put your feet on it and it doesn't pull up at night and your feet are completely surrounded. That was really nice. Put this on. Now I kept this from Massachusetts to Maine. I thought about getting my old sleeping bag back, but by the time I was already up there, I'm like, well, it's going to be a couple weeks, you know. It just didn't work out. I was only cold 2 or 3 times. One time was maybe 2 were in New Hampshire. I know one for sure was in New Hampshire. One may have been Maine. It just got really, really cold and I was freezing. Other than that, it served me well. It's definitely not as warm as a sleeping bag, but I did like when I stopped for lunch or something and I was cold, I could just pull it out and wrap it around like a blanket, which I'm going to do right now. I also carried this the entire way. This is the Cocoon. It's polyester microfiber, 100% polyester microfiber. So I think this like added 5 degrees. It was the cheaper version. If I had to do it again, maybe I'd gone with like a slightly warmer one. But I always wore this when it was cold, either in my sleeping bag or in this. and when it was hot, I would just be in this or just in my blanket, and that was really nice. I did like the liner. It was just kind of a hassle when it's cold and you have to get out of everything, get back in everything, and you're trying to find that and scoop back in, and then I don't know, it was a lot. I think that's it. I think that's my big 3. What you doing?